Hey, how's it going? Today I'm talking about strength workouts and how they change throughout the year depending on what your running schedule looks like. This is Running to the Castle, a podcast for injury prone Run Disney runners on a journey to running magical miles. Join me, Dr. Allie, as I share the secrets I've gathered as a runner, doctor of physical therapy, and coach. You'll learn the exact ways I get my clients to the castle strong without feeling broken or held together with KT tape as they cross the finish line. Okay, so if you may have seen my little Minnie Mouse ears with the rest and recover, build, train, taper, and race. Those are the phases of a running journey as I see them. And you'll notice there's no start or end, it just keeps going. And you can be at any part of the journey, and you can even skip journeys depending on what your Run Disney race season looks like. So, for example, let's say this upcoming year, next year, you're doing Halloween. So, when you're training for that, starting sometime in June for the half marathon and challenge distance, you are in the train phase starting in June. Then when you have your final long run, that starts your taper. And then the week and weekend of the race, that's race day, or that's the race phase. Then let's say you're training for wine and dine right after that. Then you go into rest and recovery. Based on my training plans that I write for my clients, that's usually a week. You slow things down, you rest and recover from that race. Then you're getting back into the train phase. You skip the build phase because you are still training for a race, because wine and dine is October 31st. And so you would skip the build phase because there's not enough time to have a build phase. Then you go through train, taper, race, rest and recovery. And let's say you're just doing those two races. Then you go into the build phase for, let's say, 2 months. So right after wine and dine. So the beginning of November and December, you're in the build phase. You're not doing anything in January or February. So build is still in January. And then let's say you're doing springtime surprise, and that training plan starts in the beginning of February. Then you jump into the training phase for springtime surprise, and you're in that until taper and race, and so on and so forth. So that's what the phases of a running journey look like in my eyes, and that's how I talk about it with my clients. So how do strength workouts change throughout the year based on what phase of the running journey you're in? And we use that phase of the running journey based on what your running plan will look like. So, strength workouts, when you're in training phase, strength workouts are not the priority. Training for the race is the priority. So, although strength exercises are important, just as you're getting massage and foam rolling, massage gun, hot or cold baths, stretching, eating right. Those are all important, but during the train phase, they're not the number one priority. The number one priority, the number one focus is training for the race, getting miles, getting time on your feet. So strength workouts during that phase should be nothing new and nothing significantly heavy. And what I mean by that is, yes, it should still challenge you, but because that's not your priority, you shouldn't be maxing out. You want to save your energy in your body for the cross training, the cardiovascular training that you're doing during that phase. Then when you hit taper, I recommend actually pulling back on strength training even more. Not necessarily doing less frequently. Maybe it's just less weight or less repetition, and getting your body ready to have energy for race day. And then race week, I recommend really minimal strength workouts, maybe just kind of like very slight maintenance strength workouts so that you can keep the muscles moving. But priority is race. So you want to make sure that you have energy for the race. Then when you're in rest and recovery, that's the priority. So often my clients will do more physical therapy-esque strength workouts where it's low weight, high repetition in muscles that support the injured body part, because you don't want to add too much to the injured body part while it's trying to rest. And then when you get into the build phase again, that's when the priority is strength building. So this is the time to do new strength exercises that maybe you've never done before. If you were planning to do new ones, this would be the time to do it. This would be the time to really focus on getting heavier weight. So then during your training phase, you're doing heavier weight than you did maybe last year, but it's not new anymore. Now it's maintenance because you did it in the build phase. Okay, does that make sense? So you are changing what your strength workouts look like throughout the year, throughout the phases of the running journey to maximize whatever the priority is during that phase. And so going back to one of the biggest mistakes that RunDisney runners make is focusing on strength training at the wrong time. And the reason that is problematic is because strength exercises add pressure, add load to your injured body part, as do running faster, running more, cross training. Yes, it's a different kind of load, but it's still adding load to that body part, to that injury. And if you're adding too much load, your body can't heal. It needs to have it balanced out. So that's why you go heavier or new or more during the build phase, and you're running less miles and not as fast miles. And then when you are in the train phase, you tone down and do more maintenance on the strength workouts so that your priority can be focusing on the cross training, the running, and adding those miles. So for most of you now, you are getting into the build phase because you're finishing up training for Springtime Surprise. So after Springtime Surprise, you'll be resting and recovering from that. And then you'll hit the build phase before you go to train for your next race. Or maybe if you did Princess, you're already in that build phase. This is the time to focus on the strength workouts to prevent the future injuries. And if you're wondering what working out during this build phase would look like for you, I talked about it in another podcast, but send me an email, amarty@dralipt.com, if you'd be interested to see what that would look like. I haven't made something like this formally for many people. Like I do it with my clients on an individual basis, but I'm thinking that it might be interesting for someone else to learn what a physical therapist would recommend to prevent injuries for the future, what those strength exercises would look like now and how to do them. Let me know, send me an email. If there's enough interest, I will put it together. As always, thanks so much for listening. That's all for now. Talk to you soon.